still in town for Thanksgiving. Us.
I don't fly out until Thanksgiving Day.
You are flying out Thanksgiving Day.
Whatever.
Probably the best day of fun.
Yeah, I think probably it is. Although I do know several people who are doing
Well,
that
that'd
this
be
year.
nice. So how many?
Both
of you
Thanksgiving
have
and
at the
Christmas.
table?
I don't know. Could be 15 or 16.
I think no matter when it's gonna be. It was crazy when I went,
Never
so, you
I
know.
know no details.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's just-
That's just
We
fine.
need more flights added.
You know where you need to be to have a wonderful meal with family.
So, start to get comfortable. Let yourself, if you're on blankets, you know, just be mindful of letting yourself be as high as you want to be if you're on the floor, and in your chair, be mindful of getting your feet hip distance apart and parallel. And then just close your eyes, lengthen up through the top of your head, and let's just wake up our hands a little bit. Let your thumbs, the tips of your thumbs and your pointer fingers just touch, but then rest your hands palms down wherever it feels good. So it's easy, relaxed. Lengthen up through the top of your head. Start to be with your breath. And you know, if you're comfortable to let your breath come into the belly or come into those 3-part breaths, you can just gradually allow the breath to perhaps get a little bit longer and deeper. And now if you can, just let your thumbs and your middle fingers do the same thing. Come to just lightly touch the tips together there, resting your hands easily. And just give yourself a few breaths there. And then let's go to the ring fingers and the thumbs. Gently, again, just lightly touching. Support however you need with your hands. Lastly, let your pinkies and your thumbs come to just touch gently the tips together there. Just let your hands rest comfortably. Come into those deeper, fuller 3-part breaths if you can. Remember, you don't want to force your breath, but now gently bring your hands to meet in front of your chest, spreading your fingers out, letting yourself feel connected through each of your fingers and your thumbs, whatever part of your palms touch. And we'll inhale the hands right up through the midline. Keep them together. They don't have to come very high. It depends on your shoulders. When you exhale, let them come back down in front of your heart. And now let yourself, as you inhale, bring the hands over to the right. I'm going to mirror you today. And as you exhale, bring them over to the other side of the chest. And then again, inhale over to the side, over to the right side. And exhale, let them come all the way across and to the left. And then just let your hands come on back to center again. And let your elbows lift up so your palms are pressing, your hands are pressing more firmly together, right? And then start to circle your hands and keep them connected so that even when you come the backs of the hands towards each other, you're still very lightly connected with your hands as you circle through your hands here, feeling your wrists. And we'll stop so that we can reverse directions and go in the other way with those hands circling the other way. Again, staying lightly connected, not forcing, try not to push hard, but Just keep that easy connection there. The next time your hands end up together again, let them stay there, right there together in front of your chest. And let's unfold our arms on down beside us here now. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And then let's unfold our arms. Take a nice inhale. And on your exhale, twist to your right. Bring yourself on around to your right. Easily allowing your hands to come just where it's comfortable. Be aware of feeling your feet in the floor. Feel that length up through the top of your head. One more inhale. And on the exhale, we'll come on back around through center and go all the way into the other direction. Again, just be aware of your feet on the floor. Feel your chin parallel to the floor. Good. One more inhale. And on your exhale, come on back around into center. And let's come forward. Now, if you're on the floor, you can adjust however you need. If you're in your chair and you like to widen your stance, you can do that. You can keep your elbows above your knees. You can keep on going down towards the ground with your hands. And on the floor, same thing. You just come as far forward as feels good. Maybe you just want to barely come forward with the low back, keeping the length of the spine. Maybe it feels good to let your head release and hang. One more breath here. And then we're going to slowly make our way on back up to sitting. So take your time, let yourself release your arms out beside you. Shake your hands out a little bit and circle them around in one direction and in the other. And then if you're cross-legged on the floor, switch across your legs, stretch your legs out if you need to. Bring the other leg in front so that you just come into releasing. It's that front hip that usually gets the most, so sitting with the other leg in front helps. And we're going to inhale both arms all the way out again and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And now let's inhale our hands up and come on into a wide open V. Let the palms face each other. Let yourself feel almost like your arms really are growing out of your back. And then lowering your right hand down, let's come over into a little side stretch. So you can put your hand on the floor. If you're in your chair, you can let your arm hang or put your hand in your lap. Or hold your chair if you want. Just be mindful. Let yourself breathe into that left side. And now we'll come back up to that wide V. Use your belly to help you get right back up there. Turn the palms towards each other. And let's lower that left arm down and come into the other side. So breathing into the right ribs. Letting yourself feel that sense of reaching up through the fingertips. Space between the ribs gets bigger when you breathe in. And then we'll come on back to that wide open V one more time. And then let's lower our arms on down behind us. So if you're on the floor, you might put your fingertips on the floor, or you might go flat onto your hands. If you're in your chair, you might just lean back into your chair a little bit. Feel the sternum coming forward, kind of on a diagonal line. And be really mindful of your neck. Look forward if that feels better. You can look up a little bit if you want, or you can look up higher. Just try not to tense your neck up, right? One more breath. And then we're going to come on back up and let's come forward this time again. If you decide you're on the floor, you need to stretch your legs out, do. You can go as far forward as you want. Take your time. Once you get there, if it feels good to shift your torso a little bit from side to side, you can. So that you just come a little more into the top of one hip and then the other. We'll come on back into center so that we can rise back up again. Take your time, rising all the way on back up. Let your arms come on out beside you. And let's inhale the arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And then unfold your arms. Shake everything out just a little bit. We're going to come around towards hands and knees. You know, if you don't want to be on your knees, don't be. Use your blanket. If you're on the floor and you feel like you don't want your knees to be on the hard ground, use your blanket under your knees or your hands. And of course you can use your chair and be totally up off the floor to come through your cat-cows. So just be mindful. Start to flow through your back a little bit. You don't have to go very deeply. You can just kind of start with tiny cat-cows, really, so that they're not too extreme. Sometimes once you start, it just starts to feel good to move a little deeper into the poses. It really just depends on how you feel today. So the tailbone drawing up under you when you come into your cat, navel drawing towards your spine. And when you send your tailbone back and up a little bit, feel how you let your heart sink down a little bit in your cow. We'll finish off the one we're on. And then we'll come back to a more neutral spine here. And now just turn your head to look one way. It doesn't matter which way. Just turn to look to one side. And then look straight down between your hands again and turn your head the other way. And then look straight down between your hands again. And then draw your chin towards your chest and let your head just hang for a second. And then look straight down between your hands again. And we're going to step our left foot forward and our right foot back to come into our first lunge. So you know when you come into this lunge, it is totally up to you how long of a stance you take, how high you want your hands to be. But be mindful of your hands, okay? So if your wrists bother you, you can try all kinds of things. Fists, you can hold the edge of the seat of the chair, which takes the wrist crease out. Or you can come up to fingertips. You know, that'll take it out of your hands too, out of your wrists. So just really enjoy. Find the whole body here in the pose. Enjoy opening up the back of that right leg. Good. We're going to switch legs. So however you need to do that, whether you like to step forward or backward, just take your time and find that lunge on the other side. Be mindful of the bend of that front knee. Make sure you're not bending it any farther forward than your ankle. Feel your shoulders really drawing down away from your ears and let your head become a part of your spine. We're going to switch legs again. So if you like to lift up a hand or both hands, by all means you can bring that left hand up to your thigh, or you can let your hands stay down, or you can try both hands coming up if you choose. And then we're going to switch again. Waking up the legs, coming up into the hips, finding that length in the back body. Again, if you like to lift a hand or hands up, you can. Good. And then we'll come down with our hands so we can step forward and come on into our standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be really mindful of your back. You know, every day is a new day. So if it feels fine to let yourself release farther forward and bring your hands down towards the floor of the blocks, do. Maybe you're better off to put your elbows above your knees or to use your chair, right, to keep yourself up higher. See if you can. Keep your feet flat on the floor so your heels stay on the floor, in other words, but bend one knee at a time. So it's kind of a little tiny walk of your standing forward bend. Good, and then come on back into center. Let your knees soften a little bit. Feel your feet equal in the floor. And let's press into our feet and bring our hands to our hips and rise on up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts, finding our mountain pose. So take your time. If you need to look at your feet, adjust your feet, do. Bring your gaze on forward and out. And just enjoy feeling very balanced between your feet. Feel the thighs gently lifting upward. So you don't want to jam back into locking your knees. And if you try doing that, you'll kind of know you don't want to do it. So if you lift the thighs up and feel that engagement in your legs and the pelvis gets aligned, Then there you are, stacked up with your hips over your ankles, shoulders over your hips. Length in the back of your neck and your throat. And then we'll release our arms right on down beside us. Float your arms just a little away from you, like a balloon blew up in your armpits a little bit. And then turn your palms forward. Feel what happens in your shoulders when you do that. So for a second, bring your hands back and turn your palms backward, right? See how your shoulders roll forward like that? And then again, turn the palms forward and feel how now, oh my, you're just way open across your chest. One more breath here. And let your next inhale bring your arms all the way up into that wide open V. Mountain with arms overhead. Let your palms face each other. Feel the shoulders down away from your ears. One more inhale. And if you like to look up, do. And on the exhale, bend your knees, fold forward from the hips, come into your standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back, whether you put your hands on your chair or your legs, doesn't matter, or your blocks. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge, heading into our first sun salutation. And inhale. Exhale into that downward facing dog pose. So ease your way into the dog that feels good for you, wherever your hands are. See about hugging your elbows towards each other. If you like to walk your dog, go ahead and bend a knee at a time in your dog. And then come on back to your full downward facing dog pose, feeling equal through the sides of your body. And let your next inhale carry you out towards your plank. And you know, totally these planks are up to you how you do them. Whether you come to forearms and do forearm plank, put your knees down, do a half plank, bend your elbows, do push-ups if you want to. So just be really mindful of finding where you're able to be here. Engage your belly. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Hug those elbows softly inward. Let yourself feel your head as a part of your spine. And we'll bring the right foot forward this time to find lunge. So you know, if you need to put your left knee down to get there, or come up and then back to your lunge, do. And we'll step forward from here back into our standing forward bend. So check your feet out. Just make sure you don't have one foot farther forward than the other, or a lot more turned out than the other. Just get as even feeling as you can. I know some of you really like to hang and hold your elbows. So if that feels good, you can. If not, use whatever support you need. Just allow the weight of the torso forward here to help the backs of the legs open up. And just watch your breaths all the way in and all the way out. Letting those full deep breaths really calm down the mind and the body. And then we'll bring our hands right back up to our hips and rise on up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. And let's release our arms down beside us and then float our arms up into a T position. Let your hands be palms down and the fingertips are reaching as far away from the midline as you can. And then just rotate, bring your hands forward of your shoulders, turn your palms away from each other so your thumbs face down and your pinkies up. And then all we're going to do is bring one hand on top of the other, doesn't matter which one. Clasp your hands together, soften your shoulders down. Bring the hands on down and then up and through that hole you created, and rest your forehead if you can right there on your hands for just a couple of breaths. Even if you can put your hands right there so the head can rest, push your head a little bit into your hands, just a little. And then bring your gaze back forward, send your hands back down and through, squeeze your palms a little towards each other. And all we're going to do is switch the hand that's on top, do the same squeezing of the hands, and then let them come down, and let them come, if you can, up and through. And again, if you can rest your forehead on your hands, do. And press a little bit into your hands, just a little. And then one more breath. from there, put your hands right back down and through and forward and squeeze again, those palms towards each other. And then we're going to release and open the arms on back out to the side. And now rotate your palms up. Feel what that does to your shoulders. And when you inhale, rise the arms on out and up. And on the exhale, we're going to fold forward from the hips into our standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find that flat, long back again. And this time, left foot steps back to come to lunge. Draw shoulders down. Enjoy engaging your belly a little bit. If it feels okay to press your feet gently away from each other, do. And we're going to come on into that downward facing dog pose again. Yay for the dog. So have fun. Walk if you need. Bend your knees if you need. You know, if you need to move a little bit in your dog, do. Feel good in your shoulders, remember. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. Again, it is totally optional what kind of plank you do. Whether you like to do push-ups or not, if you like to do forearm plank, if you like to do half plank with knees down, do. Good. And then we're going to release back again into down dog. Imagine your dog is like a giant body yawn. You know, it just like, it's like, this whole body is involved, and it's a wonderful feeling. One more breath. And then we'll bring our left foot forward and find lunge. So again, however you need to get into that lunge, it does not matter. And then we'll come forward again to standing forward bend, feet hips distance apart and parallel, and go right to your breaths again. So really watching the breath all the way in, all the way out. If you're able to really allow your head to hang heavy, you might want to nod or shake your head a little bit. Feeling the ribs in as you inhale, expand in all directions. And we'll from here bring our hands back up to our hips, press into our feet and rise on up. We're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up. And as we exhale, bring the top of the head even higher towards the ceiling if you can think about doing that. Coming into your mountain pose, feeling the hands very softly connected there at your chest. Spread your fingers out a little bit and feel like it's the softest touch ever, the connection there through your hands. And then as we keep the hands together, we're going to inhale them up through the midline. And on the exhale now, open the arms like wings, fold forward from your hips. And let your next inhale help you find that long, flat back. We're going to come into down dog. So make your way into your downward facing dog however you choose. So hands be on the surface you like. And let your next inhale bring you on out to plank. And it is optional to do a back bend here. You do not have to. You know that. You can if you want. You can come through for an up dog or go down to the floor and do a Sphinx or a Cobra. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So again, be mindful. Let yourself be easy. And when you come out again to that plank, you choose whether a back bend feels like a good idea for you today or not. And then we'll make our way again back into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to come into lunge. Draw your shoulders down, press your feet gently away from each other a little bit. Feel your whole body in the pose. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And be mindful. You need support, use it. If you like to release and let yourself hold your elbows, do, or put your hands behind your onto your calves if you want, or some of you might even want to put your hands up on your back, clasp your hands on your back. But just full, easy breaths. All the way in, all the way out. Really letting go through your face. You can imagine, what if your hair could relax? Just really letting yourself feel that weight forward. Feel the backs of the legs, just gently stretching. One more breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise on up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. Finding our mountain pose. Feel as balanced as you can. You know, if swaying helps you, it's fine to shift a little bit side to side or front to back or both. You know, until you feel that sense of being grounded equally through your feet. Think of your arches lifting up, the four corners of your feet reaching down. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us, and you move whatever you need to move around a little bit. And we're going to come into a warrior one first. So you can turn your chair around, or you can keep it facing you, because we'll come into pyramid too. So you may decide you'd rather have it the other way, but have your blocks handy too. So let's step towards the front of the mat, step our right foot back. Remember, if you need to widen your stance in warrior one, do, or if you like it longer or shorter, just make sure when you bend that front knee, actually look at your left knee as it's bent, and then straighten it a little bit. You don't have to straighten it all the way, but just kind of come a little straighter and bend it again a couple of times. So you really get that knee lined up with the center of the foot there. And sometimes when you do that, it almost means, it almost feels like you want to make your stance a little bit different. Maybe longer, maybe shorter. So get where you feel pretty good when you bend this knee now this last time. And then bring your gaze on forward. Float your arms a little away from you. Turn your palms forward like we did earlier when we were standing in mountain. Get that sense of being open across your chest. And we're going to inhale the arms out and up to that wide V. Let your pinkies turn a little more towards each other. Maybe feel like you can look up a little bit. There's a lift right at the base of the shoulder blades here. You're still feeling like your arms are being held up from the muscles underneath your arms that wrap around and forward. Energy all the way up through the fingertips. Imagine you're shooting sparks out through your fingertips. So one more breath. And then we'll lower the arms back down. We're going to straighten that front knee out. Now we're going to try to get our hips square. You might have to adjust your stance. And we're going to come on forward into pyramid pose. So you can bring your hands down whenever you want. You can use the back of your chair and be up higher. You can bring your hands down more to the seat of the chair or to your blocks. You know, that's totally up to you. Feeling the torso extended out over that front leg. Really enjoy feeling your thighs lifting up towards your hips. So it's like you're creating space in your knees, using all those muscles around your knees. Really extending equally through the sides of the body. Nice. One more breath. Now we're long here. We're going to bring our left hand to our left hip, and we're going to roll that left shoulder up and come into that revolved triangle. So letting yourself just look towards your left. Hand can stay down on your back, or you could stretch the arm up if you want. If that feels fine to your shoulder, you can reach the arm up. One more breath. And then bring your hand on back down. Now, if you like to bow over that front leg, now's the time to do it. You can let yourself fold forward if that feels good. One more breath. And then come up enough to step forward with that right foot and get your feet right underneath you. Bend your knees fairly deeply. Let your weight shift a little more to your heels. Let yourself release there. You can have your hands on your chair. You can have your hands on the blocks. Get your feet evened out there. And then from here, we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to press into our feet and rise on up and inhale our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, think about the top of the head getting higher. So now you're feeling much lighter in your head, more energy flowing through your body. And we're going to unfold our arms on down beside us. Again, shake out. And we're going to do the other side. So this time it will be stepping the left foot back. And again, if you have your chair there, you can have your hands on your chair to give you support. You can get your stance maybe a little more stabilized if you can have a little support there. And then when you get sort of situated, start to bend that right knee and straighten it. But take your time, look at it, right? Make sure you're getting that knee right over the center of the foot. You're not sending it out beyond your toes, right? You're letting it stop right there when it's stacked over your ankle. And again, sometimes that means you feel like, oh, I just really want to let my stance get longer or shorter. So the next time you bend it, let it stay there. And let yourself start to bring your gaze forward. Float your arms a little bit away from you. Turn your palms forward. Feel that openness across your chest. And feel as balanced as you can between your feet. All the way up through your legs into your hips. And we'll inhale the arms up higher and higher to that wide V. Once they get up there, you can turn your pinkies a little more towards each other. Maybe get that lift right at the base of the shoulder blades. So you're really engaging your belly right now. You're really zipped up, pubic bone to belly button. Energy all the way out through the fingertips. Again, almost like you're shooting sparks out through your fingertips. There's so much energy coming all the way up through the hands. One more breath. As we bring our gaze back forward, we're going to lower our arms on down and we're going to straighten that front knee out. Again, if you need to kind of shift a little bit in your stance as you start to come forward for pyramid, if you've got your chair there, you can put your hands on the back of the chair. You know, and if you get your hands grounded and you feel kind of cockeyed in your hips, go ahead and adjust your stance. Maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter. So thighs are lifting up towards the hips. Back heel is fully in the floor. You're lengthened out through both sides of your body. And man, this is a good pose for really opening up the backs of the legs, but you don't want to overdo it, so you can always shorten the stance if you need to. One more breath here. Now for a second, just imagine using your belly to draw your hip pointer bones towards each other. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but it certainly does fire up your low belly to do that. Bring your right hand now to your right hip. Roll that shoulder up. And again, you can stay with your hand right there on your low back. You don't have to go any further. You can stretch the arms straight up from your shoulder if you choose to. That is up to you. Some shoulders will do that and some won't. So one more breath. And then bring your hand on back down. Now again, if you like to fold forward, you can. If you feel like, oh, I just want to bow over that leg, it feels like the biggest relief, you can. If it feels not like that, don't do it. Good, so one more breath. Okay, we're going to come up so we can bend the front knee and go ahead and get your feet under you however you need to. So get your feet right underneath you, hips distance apart and parallel. Bend your knees, shift your weight back more to your heels, and then bring your elbows above your knees if you can. And now from here, start to turn to look to the right. See if you can shift your left elbow towards your right knee, maybe even onto it. But keep your knees equally bent there. And you can come into twist. You can even reach that right elbow up towards the ceiling, hands in prayer. You can kind of get a little resistance there. Then come on back to center. And stay at center for a breath with your elbows above your knees, lengthen out through your spine. So from that length of the spine, you're just going to reach across. And again, try to get that right elbow to the left knee. Knees are equally bent. And again, if you like to lift the elbow up and press that left hand into the right, you can get a little deeper in the twist. Don't need to. And then come on back again, elbows above your knees. Keep your back nice and long. See if you can let your head hang. And then shift your hands to your thighs. Press into your thighs and rise on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, we'll just let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. And we're going to let our arms come on down from there and shake out a little bit. Move around however you need to. Because we're going to come into Warrior 2 this time. And keep your chair turned that way if you're using it. Step that right foot back. So for most people, Warrior 2 is usually a longer stance, but not necessarily, right? Sometimes it's better to keep your stance short so that when you bend that front knee, you're not bending it out beyond your toes. But even here in a short stance in Warrior 2, using the core body here as you reach your arms up and out, it's really a strong core pose. Now, if you like to step wider, you're actually using a little more into your hips, right, and into your legs. But a shorter stance, sometimes it's kind of fun because it keeps you in your core of your body there. One more breath. And then bring your arms on down, and we're going to turn to come into a little bit of a wide-legged forward bend, so you may want to step your feet wider. Have your hands clasped behind you for a second, and just stand up and let yourself feel what your pelvis is doing. Tailbone is reaching back a little bit. You're letting yourself enjoy. Good. And then from here, bend your knees and come on forward. Now, if you need to let your hands come down, do it. If you like to have your hands on your back, you can play a little bit with that. You know, you can stay up high. You can go parallel to the floor. Some of you might really like to fold over and let your arms release away from your back. That is totally optional. You know that. Only do what you can. Just go as far as you need. If you need to put your hands down or put your elbows above your knees, do. And then when you're ready to let your hands come down, go for it. Let your arms release on down, whether you use the blocks or the floor. And if you need to bend a knee at a time, go right ahead. Adjust your stance. If you feel like you want to get less or more wide, do. And then come on back into center and set up to be with your breath. Whatever you need to do that. You know that. If you like to use blocks, if you like to let yourself bring your hands to the floor, that's fine. Hold your ankles if you want. And just be mindful. And if possible, feel the weight of your head. Let yourself feel full breaths coming in to expand your ribs in all directions. And one more full deep breath here. Now, if you can, don't move your feet closer together. See if you can rise up from here. So bringing yourself on up. Keep your feet apart if you can. Because from here, all we're going to do is turn our right foot, and you're going to do your warrior two facing the back wall back there. So turning now to let the right toes face that short edge of the mat, and bend that front knee just a little bit, and bring your arms on up and out into your warrior two. Reaching out through the fingertips, feel the shoulders softening down away from the ears. Good. Finding that core strength there. Nice. One more breath. And then let your arms come down. We're going to turn back again to that wide-legged forward bend. So all you're going to do is turn that foot back, and we're going to come on forward. And this time, once you get your hands down, let your hands go over towards one side. So you can walk towards either foot with your hands on the floor. You can shift your blocks a little bit to one side. And then when you're ready, walk back through center, head over to the other side. Good. And then come back into center and try this. And you may want your blocks. Walk your hands out almost like you're doing a down dog, okay? You can bend your knees, right? You can let yourself just have the hands either on blocks or the floor out as far as you can. Let your heart melt down a little bit. So it's like you're releasing between your shoulder blades on your back. Your heels are still on the floor. So it's not like down dog in that the heels hover, but instead they're still on the ground. And you can just let yourself feel the length of the spine. Release there, one more breath. Good. And then walk your hands on back or blocks back. Set up to be with your pose here with your breath. So whatever you need to do to be comfortable, do it. Use blocks for your forearms or your head. You can let your hands be on the floor. But just breathe, full deep breaths. Watch those breaths now, all the way in and all the way out. more nice full deep breath. And be really mindful when you get ready to come up. You do whatever you need. So if you need to bring your feet closer together this time to rise up, by all means do. Take your time. Let yourself walk around a little bit. Move through your feet and your ankles. And you know, this is a smaller class than usual. So we're going to leave our mats. But bring both your blocks and go to a wall, right? So that we're going to try a little warrior 3 into a half moon. So you want to have room, and you'd be fine there, Jeannie, with the pole there. That's a good spot. Gail, you leaving?
That's great.
Yay, you made it. So Donna, you and Pat, somebody can be on that wall and somebody on that one probably, right? And you guys have plenty of room. Larry, you might be a little long for that wall. Do you want to come up here?
We'll see.
Okay. All right, so let's all turn our right shoulder towards the wall. And bring your blocks down in front of you, okay? And now this is up to you. You're pretty close to the wall. I have my right foot about, anywhere 2 to 4 inches from the wall, or maybe you want to be a little closer or further, all right? Because we're going to lift our left leg up, warrior 3, right? And that might be enough right there. That might be where you want to stay. Just work on strengthening. Now, some of you might feel like, oh, I want to lean into that wall and bring my left hand up to my left hip and open up into a half moon. Not everybody will want to do that. So if you do, you can. Sometimes adjusting how far your right foot is away from the wall makes a difference. So, and if you like to let yourself just lay back to the wall, you can do that. Yeah. Good. One more breath there. And then let yourself release. Come on, back down. Rise yourself on up. Turn your back to the wall for a second and just bend both your knees a little bit and just let yourself release there. Just back against the wall for a breath. Let the hips go. Good. But we're going to turn around the other side. So you'll need to bring your blocks around. And then once you get your blocks there on the floor in front of you and you kind of go, okay, I'm going to let this foot on, maybe you want it if you're going to go in a half moon, you might want the left foot farther away from the wall. Right leg comes on up. There you are in warrior 3, and that's a lot of work right there. Sometimes when you have the wall there, though, it feels better. I don't know how to describe it, but it does. And then if you decide you want to open into that half moon, you're right there to open, toes away from the floor, maybe rising that right arm up and letting yourself come into that half moon. Totally up to you whether you want to do that and you know it. Keep both your hands down if you need. Be mindful. If you need to bend your supporting knee, do that too. Nice. We're going to come on back down with hands, back down with feet. And then again, as you rise on up to standing, turn your back again to the wall. And now, if you can walk your feet out a little farther, do. So that you're sitting like in a chair. You can let yourself bring your back to the wall. Let your shoulders open. Turn your palms away from the wall. So you're pushing the backs of your hands into the wall, which we've been working on a lot today, right? So now you can use the wall to push in with your hands. And just enjoy. You're not trying to do a pelvic tilt. You're not tucking your tailbone forward. You feel that suggestion of that low curve in your low back there. And now for fun, just hug yourself. You bring one arm on top of the other. Give yourself a hug. You can go into your eagle wrap arms right here if you want to, or half wrap, or not. Don't have to at all. You can stay hugging. Remember which arm you have on top, because we're going to bring them down. We're going to press into the backs of the hands again into the wall. And then we're going to bring the other arm on top. Give ourselves a hug. And again, if you like that wrap, do the wrap. If you don't do it. So there you are, pretty strong in the thighs here to be here all this time. But when the wall is supporting you, it's doable. Press into your feet. Nice. And then release and come on down. Now, if you want to come forward, you can just lean and kind of rest your hands or your forearms above your knees. Some of you might really like to straighten your legs longer and fold forward. over your legs. That is totally optional, you know that. Don't do it if it's too much for you. Keep your knees bent, keep support. Just let it feel good and like a relief. Nice. One more breath. And then let yourself bring your hands to your thighs there so you can press up and walk your feet on in. Good. And we're going to come back to our mats and we're going to go down onto our bellies on the floor. So take your time. Let yourself come on down and release to bring your forehead down on your hands and just let yourself relax for a few breaths there. Breathe into your low back. And then bend your knees and let your lower legs come from one side to the other if you can, into like the windshield wiper blades. And then come back and just let your feet flex. Pull your heels in towards your buttocks a little bit. And then come on down. Legs are long. We're going to come onto our forearms into a Sphinx Pose, letting yourself, you know, if you need to bring your elbows farther forward so you're not up so high, do that. But just be mindful. Find a really good place to look where you don't feel like you're doing that, right? You're not tensing up and tensing up your neck and your throat, but it feels really easy. And now from here, let's try either a half or a full forearm plank. So bend your knees, lift up, and your hands are apart, which is a different feeling than when you clasp your hands. But you can try to pull yourself towards the front of your mat, feel how your belly engages. If you want to curl your toes under, that's fine, and be into a full forearm plank. Just let it feel good. Be mindful. Feel the belly engaging in the low back and your hips. Good. One more breath here. And then we're going to come down and we're going to stretch our left arm long and roll onto our side. And just stay for a breath here. Let yourself feel like you're kind of in your mountain pose. Lift your right leg a little off your left. And now, let's just pretend we're going to do tree pose right here. The right foot's going to come in either to the inside of your calf, or you may, here on the floor, feel pretty good to put the foot up to the inside of your thigh. That's up to you. Sometimes reaching down and kind of pulling your knee up towards you a little bit helps that hip release. And then you just put the foot down where you want on into a tree. And you can bring your arms overhead if you want to. You can even clasp your hands. Send your pointer finger out if you like that in the side-lying tree, or you can keep your hands down. Just enjoy. Feel the hip releasing. Let yourself pretend you're standing on that supporting left leg and you're balancing in your tree pose. So that means you're using your core body, right? Good. One more breath. And then lengthen the right leg on back down long again. Get parallel with your feet. And all we're going to do is roll back to our belly into a brief Sphinx Pose. Let yourself just stay for a breath there. And then we'll stretch the right arm out and we're going to roll onto that right side. So again, at first, like you're in mountain, let your feet be hips distance apart. Let yourself press into the outside edge of your right pinky toe a little bit. And then again, to bring the left foot in for tree, you may want to keep it low. You may want to let the foot come up higher. And if it helps you to pull your knee in towards you a little bit, go right ahead and do that. But just be mindful. Take your time. If arms overhead feels good, you don't have to clasp your hands. You can if you want. Just enjoy that side-lying tree pose. Good. One more breath. And then from from here, we're gonna stretch that leg back down, long underneath us again. And then once again, we'll roll back to our bellies and come on to our forearms again. Find a little Sphinx Pose again here. And then see about coming back to that forearm or half forearm plank. So either putting your knees down or putting your toes down and lifting your knees up. So you're pulling yourself forward towards the front of the mat. Feel the belly engaging. Good. One more breath there. And then we're going to release to come down, and we're going to come back towards pose of a child. So letting yourself shift back. And you know, pose of a child is totally up to you. How far back you go with your hips. Or they can stay up in the air so your knees aren't so bent. So be really mindful. Let yourself bring your breath into your low back if you can. Feeling that low back expand as you inhale. Good. One more breath. And then to come up, be really mindful. You can use your hands to help you. We're going to come on around with our legs in front of us. If you feel like you'd rather sit on a blanket, sit on a blanket. And stretch your legs on out in front of you. You can circle your feet a little bit, move through, do windshield wiper blades if you want to. And let's just do an easy seated twist. Let's all bring our left leg a little more to the midline. Now the right foot can come either to the outside or the inside of this leg. So if you have some issues going on with your knees, sometimes being on the inside is better than outside. But sit up nice and tall here. Let yourself lengthen up. Feel your shoulders soften down. And as we exhale, we're going to twist towards our right. Bring our right hand on around behind us. Now you can keep your hand on this knee. You can bring your arm across if you want towards the outside of the knee. Totally up to you. You know that. Just really find that twist in the back that feels good to you, good into your shoulders. Lengthen up through the crown of your head. Good. One more breath. And then easily make your way back into center. Now, if you can, see about bringing your hands to lift your lower leg up a little bit off your thigh. If you need to keep your ankle on your thigh, do. But if you can draw your leg in and kind of rock it a little bit side to side, do. Don't force anything. Just let it feel good. Good. And then we're going to stretch that leg down long, and we're going to switch. So the left foot comes again, either to the outside or the inside. Let yourself lengthen up really tall, like you have the longest spine imaginable. And then when you exhale, that twist coming from the middle of the back again. As you come around, you can just rest your hand on your knee or your forearm, or your elbow can hook around it. Or you can bring your arm across if you want. And let yourself, again, feel that length in the back of your throat. Remember to be mindful of not doing anything that makes your neck feel uncomfortable. So one more breath. Now use your belly as you slowly bring yourself back around. And then again, this is optional. You can stay in that figure four, or if you can, pick your leg up a little bit and just kind of rock it a little side to side too. Only if it feels good, right? Up into your hip. Good. And then we're going to release. Let the leg come on down long. And we're going to come down to our backs. Before you go down though, get your strap handy. Right, so that it's right there for you. And then we'll just come on down onto our backs on the floor. Bring your knees into your chest when you're ready, and let yourself just get the back comfortable doing what you need. So if maybe it's rolling knees side to side, maybe it feels good to circle your knees. Maybe it feels better just to separate your knees and let yourself come towards a Baddha Konasana there. Just, again, we're all different after what we've all just done, so just let your back and your hips get relief however you need. Good. And then we'll bring our feet down onto the floor. Let your arms come down alongside you, setting up for a bridge pose. Feel your feet in the floor. So remember, sometimes when you press into your feet and you press into the backs of your arms, whether your arms are bent or straight, and you lift up, sometimes you just don't feel like you started with your feet in the best place, right? So if you lift up and then you come back down and decide, do I want to be closer to my buttocks or farther from, you can change your feet if you need. And then when you inhale, rise up. So see if you can do this. See if you can, when you come into your bridge, stay for 3 breaths. And then once you finish the 3 breaths, and we'll all be at a different place, then you come back down and you rest for a breath. And then you lift back up again for 3 more breaths. So see if you can just let yourself focus on 3 breaths when you're up. Come down and rest for a breath, and then come back up again for 3 breaths. And if you're like, well, that doesn't work for me, don't do it. So if you would prefer to stay in your bridge, do. If you prefer to grab a block and support yourself in bridge, by all means do that. Remember, it's fine to change where your feet are in relation to you before you get into the bridge. Finish off whatever you're doing. Bring your knees into your chest once you get down here, okay? And then we're going to take our straps, and we're going to put our strap across the balls of both our feet so that they go up in the air. Your knees can be bent. Kind of try to even your strap out just a little bit. And remember, your knees can be bent and your legs can be way far away from you too. You don't have to pull your feet all the way up to where you're 90 degrees at your hips. They can be farther away from you. And all we're going to do is just let yourself stay there for a second. Kind of feel the weight of your shoulders. Kind of hold your strap where you're comfortable with your hands. And then slip your left foot out of the strap. We're going to lower that leg down to the floor. And from here, just stay here for a couple of breaths. Allow the back of the right leg to open up a little deeper. Keep flexing the left foot with the heel on the floor. And then bring both ends of the strap into your right hand. Let the leg open out to the right. We're going to move a little bit here rather than staying a long time. Stay here for a breath. And then come back up to the top. Left hand is going to come over and get the strap, and you're going to bring the leg across the midline over to the left. So again, just kind of go as far as you can there as you want. Stay there for a breath. And now we're going to go back again up to the top. We're going to take the strap with the right hand and go out to the side again. So we're just adding a little bit of movement, right? So that maybe it feels better. Maybe it doesn't. Come back to the top and go all the way again in towards your twist. And now you're kind of on your own. If you want to stay in the twist, do. If you like that moving back and forth, go for it. to the top with that right foot up towards the top again. And we're going to put the left foot up there. And we're going to take the right foot out. And we're going to bring the right leg down on the floor long. And then again, you can bend that left knee. You can let it stay far away from you. That depends on you. Take your time for a breath there. And then bring both ends of the strap into the left hand. Let the leg come over to the left. Press gently into the strap with the ball of the foot. Stay for a breath. And then come on back up. And we're going to switch hands and go over into that twist. Maybe just a little ways. Maybe you want to go a little further. Stay there for a breath. And then come back up again. We're going to switch again. Left hand brings the leg over to the left. Only as far as you want to go. And then back up and over and coming over in towards that twist. And again, you're kind of on your own. You can keep going with the moving, or you can stay. You can stay wherever you want. Over into a twist, or over into opening the hip into outward rotation, or maybe keeping the leg upright. Right? Just play. And then when you've had entirely enough, let your leg come on back up to the top if you can. And then we're going to take the strap off. Bring your strap onto the floor. Make sure you don't bang yourself in the head. And then bring your knees on in. And come into either a little happy baby if that feels good, or maybe you feel like you want to bring yourself more into a Baddha Konasana with the knees opening to the side. So that's up to you. Be mindful. Let it feel good. There might be something else entirely. You might want to do a bicycle up there. You might want to, come into another movement or a pose. Any number of things might feel really good right now. So just take your time and be easy. Let yourself do any movement or pose that's going to help you be a little more released when you come into Shavasana. And that is where we're headed. For your head.
Just do it now, so.
I didn't want to sit up. Relax.
Now I'm going to bring around stuff. Bolsters, blankets. I've got one here. I will be happy to bring anything that's going to help you be more comfortable. You know that. Blanket if you're chilly too. I can bring a blanket to cover you up. It was chilly this morning, wasn't it? Left it. Or did you want to lie down? So just enjoy feeling the ground supporting you. And letting yourself accept your breaths. In and out. And give your body time to respond to your breath, quieting. Your body will become quieter as well. And your brain will too. You'll always come back into thinking, but just keep returning to your breath. And give yourself the gift of these few minutes, allowing yourself to completely and fully relax. yourself just start to feel if your fingers and toes want to wiggle and move, your hands and your feet. Just taking your time to move up through your extremities and let your arms, your legs do what feels right. Stretch or bend. Really take your time. Appreciate the ground a little bit longer, whether you want to stay on your back or roll to your side, either side, into a soft fetal position. And of course, be really mindful when you do feel like you're okay to rise to sitting, just to allow yourself to get comfortable in the way you're sitting, letting your eyes stay closed and allowing yourself to adjust upward so that you start to feel the spine supporting you. Staying nice and relaxed through your shoulders and just allowing the top of your head just to float upward towards the ceiling. And coming back to watching your breath again, coming in and going out through your nose. And on your next exhale, allowing your hands to gently come to meet there in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste. Happy Monday. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you I might not see before.